This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
The Fedora Files.
Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora. How are you all doing? I'm so glad you're here. This week's episode is brought to you by Happy Little Monsters Volumes 1 through 4, which is available on Amazon, as well as Sasquatch and Me, also available on Amazon. I sell these on there to help pay for the podcast and everything and the videos I do. And I don't have a Patreon, so if you want to help me keep going, buy one of these books. And I have a thing going on right now. If you buy one of the volumes of Happy Little Monsters 1 through 4, and you send me a screenshot of your review of it, I'll put you in a drawing for Sasquatch and Me signed. And then vice versa, if you buy Sasquatch and Me and you do a review and send me a screenshot, I will put you in a drawing, and you can tell me if you want Happy Little Monsters 1, 2, 3, or 4, or just another copy of Sasquatch and Me signed, and I will send that to you as well. That is what's going on right now. All those are on Amazon. The paperbacks are between $12 to $15. I think they're all 15, and then the hardcovers are between 20 and 30, because Sasquatch and Me is relatively longer, so it is a bit more. So this week on the Fedora Files, I'm going to delve into a cryptid that is not given much play because it's kind of crazily unbelievable, surprisingly. A cryptid that's kind of unbelievable. Who would have thought? But it is one that I find fascinating and kind of cool in its own right. It is known as Batsquatch. Now, before I get into the story and the history behind Batsquatch, I want to tell you what it looks like. This is how it is described. It is described as a giant primate about 9 feet tall, with black bluish fur. It looks like almost like a gorilla, but it has like the muzzle of like a wolf or dog with sharp teeth. It has yellow eyes. Some describe it to have like bird-like feet, others more like Bigfoot-like feet, depending on the eyewitness. Most people have only seen it flying. I don't think there's any descriptions of it standing around. So that could be why we don't have a positive of what its feet look like. But people say it's about 9 feet tall. And it has a wingspan of about 50 feet. And it's like leathery wings like a bat. That's why it gets the name Batsquatch, because it looks like what would happen if Bigfoot and a bat somehow made a baby with a wolf somewhere thrown in the mix, and then boom, you got Batsquatch. Fascinating, right? Now, the story of Batsquatch is kind of interesting. It's a relatively new creature, and it is said to have first been spotted in the 1980s. And here's the story. At 12:37 on March 27th, 1980, the top of Mount St. Helens exploded, and it was huge. A 10,000-foot plume of ash into the air, scattering debris as far and as fast as Spokane. And it was like devastating. There was earthquakes, all kinds of stuff. There was an avalanche of like rocks coming down the mountain at about 115 miles per hour, and it just like slammed into the ground, and like people could feel the earthquake and everything as far away as New Mexico and Minnesota. Now, as this thing erupted, this is what happened. The eruption, it was one of the most devastating that we've seen in the United States in like 1950s. And 57 people were killed, right, with hundreds left displaced and all kinds of damage. In the bed of the trauma, with ash clouds still drifting through the air, stories began to emerge of a strange winged beast seen flying around the eruption. Witnesses described this ape-like being just flying around. And despite abundance of sightings, there were no concrete encounters with the beast. Now, 14 years passed. We jump ahead. So people said they spotted us. Similarly to Mothman and the bridge in West Virginia, people said they spotted us. So is it similar? Is it akin to that? I don't know. People have also claimed that they spotted a Mothman type creature at the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore before it collapsed. Don't know if that's true. There's no photos, but people claim. Well, we're jumping ahead now. 1980, the eruption, people said they saw this thing. Well, in April of 1994, a man named Brian Canfield was driving home one night through the backwoods of Pierce County, Washington. He was miles from civilization when suddenly his car froze in place. Canfield tried to start the engine several times, but the old pickup refused to come back to life. He was on the verge of getting out to take a closer look when something swooped across his headlights. At first, he assumed it must have been some large bird. His hand was on the door handle when the monster landed on the vehicle's hood. Okay, here's where we go. Canfield described the creature as standing 9 feet tall with a bat's wings, bluish fur, and was like humanoid. And he noted the large fangs in the creature's mouth and the glowing eyes. And here's exactly what he said. It was standing there staring at me like it was resting, like it didn't know what to think. I was scared. It raised the hair on the back of my neck. I didn't feel threatened. I just felt out of place. It looked right at me in a deep stare, like right through me. It was standing perfectly still. It stood for how long? A few minutes, several minutes. Then its fingers twitched and its wings began to unfold. Those wings were as wide as the road. It turned its head and looked back at me and started flapping its wings. A few minutes later, the truck just started and I took off as fast as I could. So there you have it. Like, it also has this ability to make vehicles stop apparently and start right back up. So it's like a mechanic, a magic mechanic. I don't know. So that was the first encounter of someone face to face with it, and that was Brian Canfield, and he still to this day is like, yes, this happened. Now more and more people started saying they saw it, and there were more encounters with this crazy creature through the 90s. And so then it kind of took like a respite. No one knew where it was. But I mean, the Pacific Northwest is huge, so there's a lot of area it could have gone to. We then jumped to 2000, I think it's 2009, was another encounter with this creature. And that happened. Let me find it for you. Oh, no, not 2009. No, it was 2009. 2000, sorry about that. 2009, near Mount Shasta, California, several hikers witnessed a huge creature with leathery wings flying over the mountain, and they were like trying to figure out what it was. They said it looked like a giant bat, but primate, and yellow glowing eyes. And that was in 2009. Then in 2011, a person who wishes to only be known as Phoenix was in his yard with his dog. He went to pick up the dog when he saw something in the sky, and he said the following: I saw something flying in the sky. It had bat wings, bluish fur, and glowing eyes. It was about 9 feet tall, and it just flew around and then took off into the night sky. We then jumped on to April 14th, 2014. Now we're going from Oregon to Ohio. And why these things go to Ohio, I don't know. These creatures seem to like going from the west to Ohio for some reason. The Fresno night walkers or night stalkers, or what do you want to call them, they went from Fresno to Ohio at some point. They hit Yosemite. But again, here, the Batsquatch is like, hey, I'm going to go to Ohio. Why? I don't know. Why do you want to go Ohio? Nobody knows. But on April 14th, 2014, at Archbishop Hoban High School in Akron, Ohio. And I've been to Akron. And I don't know why Batsquatch would want to go there. It's not that great. Anyway, a second period Spanish class spotted a giant black mass zip by the window of the classroom at an incredible speed. The class claims it was about 9 feet tall and a wingspan of about 30 feet. 30 feet. So maybe it's an offspring. Maybe it's like, the son of Batsquatch decide, hey, let's go to whatever, and let's go to Ohio for whatever reason. It did. It went to Ohio. So anyway, so Batsquatch took off, and there you go. It had its time, and it had a good time, and there it went. So you have these people claiming that they came across this thing. And I found it interesting that it first happened around Mount St. Helens when the eruption took place. Some people claim that it came out of the mountain because it was trapped deep in the crust of the earth. Like some people, if you go with the hollow earth theory, if you watch the Godzilla and King Kong, that they kind of go into that theory where there's an earth inside the earth and it's these monstrous creatures that are stuck down there. And this one got out because of Mount St. Helens eruption. I don't know. I don't know. Another thing is like you get these people like, well, it's always blurry photos. Well, I was on another podcast with co-host Diego. Let's find out with co-host Diego, and he had me on, and we got into why are these photos blurry. And one of the theories out there that I've looked at is that Bigfoot and such are from another dimension. So if you've ever seen the movie Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse, and it's Spider-Man, but they delve into a theory that that is a scientific theory. People think that dimensional beings, other dimensions, multiverses, that these other Earths, other things, they're all in the same area. So they're like a multiverse, it's all here, but it's a different dimension. It's slightly different than ours. So when you see something, sometimes you see something out of the corner of your eye that, and you're seeing into a different realm. And the reason the photos are blurry is that because they're from a different dimension, different world, different earth, that their molecules are slightly different on a different plane of existence, so they can't keep steady shape. It's like shaking. And if you watch Into the Spider-Verse, you see that at some points their bodies go, they zip and they get all shaky and blurry, and because they can't keep their form. So a lot of people think that these Batsquatch or Bigfoot, these cryptids are from another dimension and we're seeing them, but when you try and take photos, it becomes blurry. And it sounds like I'm just making up excuses for them. I'm just giving you the theory behind why these things happen and why it's a hard time to get clear shots of these creatures. Is that Squatch real? Don't know. This guy encountered something. I can tell you, about 15 years ago, probably more than that, probably over 20 years ago, I was driving in Florida and a giant owl flew in front of me. I hit it with my car and it took off. I had a VW Bug at the time and it took off the little front thing, the little VW thing. It hit it and knocked it off, like, because I was going like about 50 miles an hour, but this thing was a huge and feathers went everywhere. I hit quite a few interesting creatures when I was in Florida. Hit an alligator too once because it was raining and dark and I didn't see it. But the owl was a huge thing. I didn't know at first what it was. It just scared the everything crap out of me. Because owls, it was a big, huge wingspan. He claims this thing landed on his front of truck. I would think a 9-foot tall beast would do some damage to the hood. So I don't know if he has pictures of that, but he claimed he encountered something. I don't doubt people when they say they have an encounter, especially with something like a Batsquatch, like, because that's something you don't want to go around telling people, like, I saw the Batsquatch, and people think you're crazy. But he encountered something. What it was, I don't know. Now, the reason I wanted to bring Batsquatch up is that I find that, again, these stories, they're a part of the fabric of our country, our world, and they make life interesting. And I think Batsquatch is one of those creatures that makes you be like, that's crazy. That's kind of cool. At the same time, it's kind of scary. It's kind of interesting. But is it real? I don't know, because I've never encountered it. I think people are seeing something. Could it just be a giant bat? Could it be a condor? Could it be a just giant eagle of some kind? I'm not sure. What do you think it is? Do you think there is a Batsquatch? Do you think there is these creatures? Do you think it's a creature from another dimension, another realm? Is it demonic? Is it not? Is it malevolent or benevolent? Which is it? Good, bad? Does it just exist and it's out there? Only time will tell. I mean, people find things all the time, and science is discovering new creatures all the time. Will they discover a primate winged creature in the Pacific Northwest? I don't know. That's a big area. There's a lot there that things could hide and live in. I don't know. Is it kind of like the Mothman? Is it an omen to disasters? Although this one came after the disaster, so it's kind of one of those like, oops, I should have warned you sooner. And it didn't. So hopefully, if it is an omen kind of creature, it'll get better at letting you know before the disaster hits as opposed to after, because, that's sad. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on Batsquatch? I'd like to know. Leave a message, comment, whatever you want. I would love to hear where you think it is or what it is. And remember to, as always, as you go out there and adventures in this world, or look into things or discover things, keep your minds open, look into these things, and have a great time out there. But always stay safe and keep searching.
The Fedora Files.
Check out fedoracrt.com today.